Here is the spicy meatball. I have no idea where he is. Haha, I need to look it up. Okay, cards on the table. I didn't want to write about GG. Richard says, I know how Mary Sue works, dude, and not wanting something and doing it anyway is all kinds of unjustified BS. It's what they wanted, then don't write for them, Anna. Anna writes back, I need the money. Richard writes back, that doesn't make writing lies okay. That's how lies continue.
That's going to be a yikes from me, dog. That's going to be a yikes from me. I never give a yikes. I don't like yikes. I think yikes is overdone. It's overplayed. I think people use yikes too much. Yikes should have stayed in Scooby-Doo for me. But this is yikes. This is yikes in block capitals yikes. It's unbelievable.
I take great personal joy every time a game journo is exposed for being a hack. In this case, Anna Valens, who has written several just flat out incorrect pieces about me in the past, has been exposed by esports journalist Richard Lewis in his quest to also show how some other unhinged video game journalists have been trying to blackmail him. I wanted to give you a quick update. Many of you know I have a second channel called Midwestly, and I used to just put like more serious topics there. Well, now I've limited videos here on the quartering to 3 a day because it seems like YouTube really punishes you if you do more than that. So Midwestly is starting to get just video game content in addition to other content. There'll be a Fallout 76 video later today. I just uploaded a video about YouTube's trending page. So make sure you head over to Midwestly, which will be linked in the description, and subscribe. Now, Richard Lewis is a esports journalist, one of the few video game journalists that has been, let's say, open to having conversations with me, sharing information with me. And even though we disagree on many things, he, as far as I can tell, has remained what is few and far between in the game journalism world, a human. You know, for the rest of us, we can disagree with people on certain issues, but still remain friends. That's called being normal. I think that's where I would put Richard and I's relationship at. He's been on my show. We don't agree on everything, but he's done some excellent articles in the past, and now he's up for an eSports award that has led to a bizarre blackmailing from other video game journalists and a leaked DM where game journalist Anna Valens admits she only writes about GG and things like that for the money. We'll get into that. So Richard Lewis writes, what do you do when people who are harassing you are journalists? Veteran esports journalist Richard Lewis has been defending himself from trolls again on social media, but this time it's other journalists with an agenda. It's esports award season, so naturally some game journalists have reared up and are currently in their annual attempt to get me driven out of an industry I've worked for over 15 years. I don't know if I'd want to call myself a journalist these days, but Richard Lewis has been a good human. I'll put him there. I think there's a negative connotation in my world on games journalism, so I'll just call him a commentator. How about that? The attempts this time have involved journalists labeling me all the normal things, implying I'm a predator or a fetishist or a blackmailer, and have publicly condemned me for using the block function on Twitter. The last one is strange given their well-documented use of block bots, but as you'll see, the hypocrisy is pretty much par for the course in their world. Now, Richard will go on to prove he's basically one of the few good ones out there, and I think it's interesting and a good tale. When I won Journalist of the Year at eSports Awards in 2016, other journals tried to discredit my work. It was mostly mild grumbling on Twitter. Then they stepped up their attempt in 2017. A crowdsourced hit piece where some journalists got together to research all my supposed sins and publish it on PC Games N, with the cynical hiring of a freelancer to put their name to it. That's some yikes. The article claimed that esports are being represented by people whose histories include all the normal words that NPCs use, as well as with deceptive pasts. As I do not fall into any of these categories, the quote crimes the author managed to put my name to were being banned from a subreddit. By the way, badge of honor. I don't know why anyone would want to spend time on Reddit, but that's neither here nor there. Acting in self-defense when someone tried to attack me for making making a joke about how I grew up poor when accepting an award. Ooh, get this guy canceled. I was able to pursue legal remedies. Needless to say, because these allegations were unequivocally false, they issued an apology. Isn't that great? I got one of those too on my mantle from The Escapist. You see their original apology. On Friday, we published an article regarding representation in esports. The article made mention of an esports journalist, Richard Lewis, citing actions in his past. We have come to accept that there was ambiguity in the language we used, and that incidents we cited with regards to Mr. Lewis are not sufficient to constitute a, quote, violent past, and there also never any intention to label him these words. Baloney. We know how. Remember when that girl wrote the article about me on The Escapist, and a quick call to my half-Asian super lawyer, Bill Richmond, got them to not only remove the article, but issued a swift apology? These people act with impunity. They never think you're going to call them out. But then when you stand up to them, they're quick to backtrack, which I'm glad Richard Lewis did. I'd like to say that's the end of it, but no. I've been nominated for Esports Journalist of the Year again this year, and the latest attempts to discredit me have raised the stakes somewhat. Along the usual disgruntled, a plan was hatched in August to run another hit piece as involved public threats of blackmail. Let me tell you why. Between 06 and 09, I worked on a novel with the ironic title The Romantic. It was about a jaded office worker who was just an awful human specimen, a loner who processed everything through a manner informed by the television he would watch. He charged himself, so essentially a work of fiction. Some of the published chapters included monologues of this character doing bad things or saying bad things. I do not consider these works of fiction to be any more extreme than the writers who inspired me, and creative writing was a big part of my life before I pivoted towards journalism. I ran a poetry collective with my friends and published author G.J. Wood in Birmingham and have read many of the pieces. Okay. These journalists planned to misrepresent them as my thoughts in a bid to prove me once and for all that I am the bigot they have reportedly said I am. The source who initially informed me about this said they were holding back for maximum impact. I won't be blackmailed or intimidated, so I'm making people aware that these writings exist and the context behind them. Hey, that's the move, right? You made some spicy jokes in a work of fiction. So he puts it out there. He says, in case you missed it, here's a part of the team talking about the attempts that have been levied at me. I doubt this will stop the hit piece from being published, but given the choice of having malicious people hold something over me indefinitely or be open and transparent about it, there's no choice for me at all. Obviously, given my many years of advocating for more inclusion in the esports space and helping many people from underrepresented groups get their start in the business, it should be clear that these views are that of the character and not my own. Yet if this is still your viewpoint of that exercise in creative writing is a cardinal sin, then hold me accountable for however you see it fit. What I would ask of you is to focus on, and by the way, this is on Deserto.com, on what is going on in regards to the persistent years-long harassment I'm receiving. Why is it acceptable for journalist Victoria Rose to publicly blackmail me with threats of releasing this WordPress, which we have archived here? And by the way, I've spoken to Richard directly. He shared with me all the receipts, and this whole situation is crazy. Now, part of me would not be honest in saying how do I say? There's a bit of schadenfreude here. There's a bit of enjoying the journalists eating each other. But Richard has always done right by me, so I have to do right by him. That's just called being a good human. That were publicly available for 8 years. You will notice that she specifically refers to, quote, we, which of course are the other journalists who've been working on a smear piece for me. Why is this taking so long? Here we go. Someone let me know that dude from yesterday is literally streaming himself, name searching his username on Twitter for all of his followers. He's got to learn how to use archive.is. Come on, Richard. I'm not joking when I ask, can someone he doesn't hate check on this man? Did something happen? This person, if you look at their feed, and I don't recommend you do, is obsessed with him. Thank you for threatening Richard Lewis with releasing the WordPress files. Make this content on his stream right now possible. I don't know why this is coming up weird, but I've seen it. It's probably just a loading. Oh, here we go. Anyway, done addressing this dude. I'll get back to the issue when we're ready to talk about his old personal WordPress. This is somebody who's been in the game industry, video game industry journalism for years, but due to their own probably unhingedness hasn't been able to keep a job, in my opinion. Why can she publicly label me a predator for helping a trans friend get corrective surgery that they desperately needed to live pain-free? Worse, why is she targeting my friend? Doesn't she have enough to deal with without a journalist publicly implying that she's being manipulated by me? This is hands down the most vile lie of any journalist has told. I mean, about you, probably. Read some of the stuff they write about me, homie. No one will criticize her for it. There will be no penalties from her employers or colleagues. Why is it acceptable for Jay Costello, the weekend editor at Rock, Paper, Shotgun, to publicly lie that I was blocking all women in esports from my Twitter, then followed up with the claim that I am inarguably sexist, something I'll wager she feels comfortable saying, believing this ancient blog to be the smoking gun? And here you go. R. Lewis, being so horrified by women in esports, he's blocked them all on Twitter, is honestly extremely funny. Now, I wouldn't pay any mind to what somebody at a quickly withering website like Rock, Paper, Shotgun has to say, but that's neither here nor there. Now let's get to, by the way, I stand with Richard Lewis and his reporting. I think you should read this article because while he does cover some of the things that I often mock, he's always been a good man. And here's a perfect example. Remember Anna Valens. She's written multiple lies about me and other gamers over the years, publicly admitting, privately admitting, she's afraid to talk to me, even though she's happy to write lies about me. So she posts this. Things are only looking up from here, eSports, where they photoshopped this. Richard Lewis, I'm being blackmailed by games journalists who I will now attempt to blackmail. He's not blackmailing them. He's just exposing them. Blackmail has to have something you're asking for. To which he replies, of course I didn't need to Photoshop images to make it appear you have no integrity. And here is the spicy meatball. I have no idea where he is. Haha, I need to look it up. Okay, cards on the table. I didn't want to write about GG. Richard says, I know how Mary Sue works, dude, and not wanting something and doing it anyway is all kinds of unjustified BS. It's what they wanted. Then don't write for them, Anna. Anna writes back, I need the money. Richard writes back, that doesn't make writing lies okay. That's how lies continue. And then, for me, part of it comes down to outlets that pay well. Not because I want more money, but because my work steady jobs don't quite pay enough. They're around $600 a month each, which means I have to go for some of these places that are kind of mixed up. Like, I'm sure you can imagine I hated Vice Gaming's Zoe's video, and I think the Mary Sue is a joke. But sadly, they have the money, so it's hard to say no. At least in the field, it's easy for you to change your focus and tone very easily. You can go from op-eds to investigative work fast as long as someone believes you can. So there you go. Anna Valens, game journalist, admitting she doesn't care about the things she writes. She only did it for the money. And I guarantee you, she is just one of many who could make this same claim. So thanks for coming after Richard Lewis, because you just exposed yourself, Anna, and from here on out, there'll be nothing you could say that has any credibility. I love how you tacitly approve of somebody calling me a predator for raising money for someone in chronic pain could lead to a better life. How is writing any old stuff for money working out for you, by the way. Buzzing! Good luck, Richard. Win your stupid eSports journalism award. I'm sorry, buddy, but no, I still appreciate you. I appreciate you. I love it. Keep doing you, buddy.